Hi friends, I'm Chelsea Grayson coming to you once again from the Office of the CEO. This is my show where I can help you be more successful in your current career, and I can also help you successfully transition to a new career. So for the past few episodes, we've been talking about how to successfully transition to a new career. And today I wanted to talk about what if that new career you're transitioning to is running your own business, whether it's something that you've been working on behind the scenes for a while, or whether it's something that you've just come up with and you're just launching in right now. So this is going to be actually a multi-episode topic because there's a lot to cover here. And what I wanted to first talk about in this episode, which is going to be relatively brief, is the idea of the business plan. So a lot of people decide that they skip over writing a business plan because when they are conceiving of and launching a new business, they've got so many other things on their to-do list. They've got calls to make, they've got meetings to take, there's all sorts of ad hoc marketing efforts that they're engaging in, they're reaching out and making all sorts of connections, they're doing market research, what have you. There's so much running around when you're starting a new business that you often think that it won't be super helpful in the short term to take the time to sit down and write a business plan. And I wanted to dissuade all of you of that total misperception. Writing a business plan is probably one of the most important, if not the most important thing that you can do when you're starting a new business. It's at base, it is the blueprint written down for the why, what, where, how, who of your company that you are going to need to present to potential investors, to potential lenders, to attractive and top-rated talent that you might not have the ability to pay in terms of market rate for base compensation, but you can successfully offer them equity if they see a document that perfectly reflects what your business is and what the prospects are for this business. And then they're confident that the equity that you're giving them in lieu of cash will actually be worth something incredibly valuable in the future. So it helps you to attract top talent. It can help you to attract influencers to come and do marketing for your brand. If you can offer them equity, they can take a look at your business plan and say, yeah, I believe this is going to be worth something. I'll take equity instead of my usual cash rate. And it can actually help you keep focused. It's a roadmap for you. It's a blueprint for you behind the scenes to stay focused as you progress along the first year or two of starting and building and then growing your business. And it will always be the foundation for future business plans as you continue to polish it, as you continue to revise it, as you continue to update it moving forward. And it will certainly be the foundation ultimately when you start to write actual strategic plans, when you really get up and going. So, I have some statistics that I did. I did some research ahead of this episode, and I wanted to convey to you guys. So one of the most interesting statistics that I took a look at was that the growth rate of businesses with a business plan versus without a business plan is 30% faster. So businesses that start with a business plan grow 30% faster. Also, this was interesting. Owners with business plans are 2 times more likely to grow, get investments, and secure loans than businesses without a business plan. That's money, guys. That's money that you need to fund your operations once you get past the point where you can continue to self-fund. So that's a huge reason for having a business plan. Also, a couple more stats before we move on. The increased likelihood of entrepreneurs with a plan to grow beyond just the initial startup phase is 129%. And finally, the increased likelihood of entrepreneurs with a plan to go from just the idea to an actual new operating business is 260%. That's if you have a plan. So for all these reasons, it's absolutely imperative that you do business planning ahead of time. It really increases the performance of both new and even established small firms. It's not too late if you've got a business that's already ongoing to go back and put a business plan together. And listen, get your advisors to weigh in on it. If you've got an advisory board, if you've got a couple of mentors, that have some experience putting business plans together. Have them take a look at it, not just to see if it's a cohesive, comprehensive, articulate plan that seems like it'll be persuasive, again, in terms of attracting investments or loans or attracting top talent, but it'll be a gut check for you. You can see if you're not just navel gazing, it's not just you that thinks this is a great idea, that you've done your market research properly in terms of competition, et cetera, that other folks aren't seeing things out there in the marketplace, that you either didn't do enough research so you didn't find that competition, or you're just sort of in denial about the fact that there might be already a whole bunch of fish in this particular pool. So it's a good idea to get other folks to take a look at it as you're plodding along. Don't just put yourself in a dark room and try to bang this thing out on your own. So I just wanted to briefly on this call sort of go over a few of the most important components of a business plan. You'd always want to have your mission statement and your company's proposed core values sort of front and center in a business plan. This is the why. This is the problem that you saw in the market or the gap that you saw in the market, a particular niche that you thought you could uniquely fill and solve, what have you. This is why am I starting this business? You'll for sure want to describe the product or services that you will be selling or providing to the market. You will want to define your target market, and you don't want to make it so broad that you're talking about, my target market is the entire millennial population and they command X, Y, and Z billions of dollars a year. I mean, that is an incredibly broad market. It's not specialized enough. People aren't going to have a lot of faith that you'll be able to command that whole market, let alone even just a chunk of it. You should be very, very specific when you're talking about your target market and very realistic about exactly who your product is intended to and will appeal to. You'll then want to put a go-to-market plan in place in the business plan. This is, how you intend to roll out your product initially and then how you intend to continue to market it moving forward. This also sort of ties back in, if it's a product, to what's your supply chain and how do you intend to integrate that successfully so it doesn't cost too much to provide this product. You will then, of course, want to talk about, after you go to market with the product or service, how do you intend to generate revenue? And of course, when do you think revenue will start to generate? And then you will want to talk about your competitive analysis, right? Who do you think your various competitors are? And they're not necessarily always in one particular segment. You might need to go cross-segment to figure out where all of your competition is. You'll probably want to put a chart together to show what your competitors offer, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then compare your product or service to theirs. So they don't provide this, we provide this, check. They do provide this, we also provide this. They provide this at a much lower cost than what we're going to have to charge. So this really shows a comparison between you and who you've done research on in terms of who your competitors are. And of course, you're going to want to top the business plan off with a set of financials. So a set of, if you have them, historical P&L and balance sheet, also a cash flow analysis. You'll want to show what your cash management process is like. How do you prevent money from leaving the door? Who has to sign off on all of that? That's very key and sort of thing one you want to take a look at with a business. And then you'll want to do pro forma or projected P&Ls, right? What do I see for next year in terms of what will bring in and what will make off of that? So what's my revenue versus my profit or my EBITDA? And what do I see for probably the 3 years going forward after that? So that's a pro forma or a projected set of P&Ls. Now, before I leave you guys today, I want to give you guys a homework assignment because we're going to get into depth on the various segments of a business plan in the next couple of episodes. I really want to dig into each one of these components. But one thing that I have found very helpful in putting my business plans together is to do a SWOT analysis. So for those of you who don't know, that's an analysis of the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that exist in respect of your business or your proposed business. So SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, SWOT. And I would love for each of you who has a business idea to go off and do even the briefest SWOT analysis for your idea or for your existing business, because it is truly a gut check for you to figure out where you really are, what is really your business's place in the universe, what do you need to watch out for, what low-hanging fruit are you not grabbing onto. Let me give you a quick SWOT analysis example, something that I've done in the past. So when I was running American Apparel, one of the SWOT analyses we did was our strength was we had incredible brand equity. We had a very loyal customer base. So we had what is called the brand halo. Weakness, that brand equity had been degraded just a little bit just before I got there because of the liquidity crisis that the company was undergoing. It had lost a lot of money. And because of the corporate culture crisis that it had experienced due to some alleged actions on the part of the founder CEO. So one of our weaknesses was that although we had a lot of brand equity, it was being degraded, and it could be degraded over time if the PR for the company continued to be bombarded by all of that negative publicity. We had an opportunity to gain a lot of additional strength in the market and with the brand by desexualizing the ads and by minimizing the number of products that our company offered. So American Apparel had typically, if you remember walking into those stores, offered a ton of different products. I mean, it wasn't just clothes, right? You'd see nail polish and scrunchies and earrings and bracelets and all that stuff crowding your eyes when you got to the counter. And we found that actually a lot of customers were getting very distracted by all of those tiny little items and then missing out on some of the bigger ticket items. So we had this opportunity to reduce the number of SKUs that we were offering in the store. We also had an opportunity, like I said at the beginning, to desexualize our ads. That just wasn't resonating with our customer anymore, and particularly in light of the various controversies that were swirling around the company. So we had an opportunity to really go back to having a much more wholesome set of ads surrounding fashion basics. So we had an opportunity to go to ground there. And in terms of threats, well, although American Apparel had sort of originally started out as a leader in fashion basics, some competition had popped up in the recent history, right? There were brands like Uniqlo that were offering really gorgeous fashion blanks all of a sudden. They hadn't been there before. In terms of fast fashion, which American Apparel was sometimes characterized as, of course, companies like Fashion Nova had proliferated, and they had a lot of the same bodycon styles that we were offering. So we needed to worry about them, and also the concept of made in America. Of course, American Apparel had really started that trend, but now there were all sorts of other competitors in that space as well, like Good American. So that was our SWOT analysis, and that really helped us focus in on the version of the business plan we were working on to figure out exactly what we needed to focus on, what we needed to avoid, what we needed to watch out for. And it really helped our shareholders understand where we intended to go, and ultimately led to a very successful sale of the company to Gildan because they very much believed in our business plan. So there you have it. Again, we're going to continue this very important topic in the next couple of episodes. It's really going to be almost a workshop in terms of how to put a successful business plan together. And be sure and drop me a comment and let me know if there's anything in particular with respect to this topic that you'd for sure like for me to hit. And I will see you next time from the Office of the CEO.